I'm getting ready to show these slides at the XYZ staff meeting. And I'm like, why do they care? Well, so there's just really simple questions I ask to get clarity of message and clarity of position. And I think if people were clearer about that to their audience, not just what they want to say, but what the audience cares about, things would go faster.
Today I speak with Brenda Discher. She's the SVP of Business Strategy and Marketing at Siemens, the mainstay in infrastructure and communications tech for nearly 200 years. Starting in mechanical engineering and software design at Slumberger, she pursued an MBA pivoting to marketing, moved on to become VP of Marketing at Autodesk, and her current role at Siemens, all while keeping her beginnings in engineering in mind. What was her inspiration to change career paths in the same industry? How did she and the team adapt to the new normal while making breakthroughs in product design? What does the future have in store for Siemens' new digital twin and ZelX tools for the product design and 3D printing space? Here's our discussion. We live in a time where design and technology touch every aspect of our lives. But where did it all come from? Who designed it? How was it built and brought to market? What will it look like in a year, 2 years, 100 years? From the phones and smartwatches that help us in our day-to-day to the cutting-edge spaceships and 3D printers that are leading us into the future, modern design is constantly shaping the way we work, communicate, problem solve, and play. And every new design, big or small, starts with an idea and a bill of materials. I'm Magenta Strongheart, and this is The Bomb, where we talk to leading innovators in the tech world and celebrate the transformational power of design. Welcome, Brenda. I'm so excited to have you on The Bomb and learn more about your role as Senior Vice President of Marketing and Business Development and Business Strategy for Siemens Digital Industries. Welcome to Design Lab.
It's awesome. Magenta, thank you for having me. This is so cool. I just had my tour.
I would love to just get started a little bit with your background and kind of your experience. I know you came from Autodesk into Siemens and a little bit about how that was and, you know, what you're excited about getting into at Siemens.
Cool. So my background, I'm a mechanical engineer. Most of my career, I started my career kind of working on software, and mainly the design of the software and making the software easier to use. So from a user interface standpoint. Probably did that for about 10 years and realized I really like working with customers more than sitting building software. And so kind of transitioned over, got an MBA and started working more on business requirements and working with customers and kind of figuring out what does the customer really need and how do we translate that into something for the products.
Which is so important.
And that's the coolest job in my opinion is being a product manager because I think product managers, it's the tangible thing that you can see. Oh, I built that product and I know what's in it because of how I represented the customers. It's a super cool role.
Absolutely.
I miss that role, but I love my role now. Anyways, transitioned over time into more communicating the value and the positioning and doing business development and business strategy. And then eventually moved into kind of industry marketing. And most of my career was in software companies, but the bulk 20 years at Autodesk, which has a lot of spaces just like this. Very similar.
We're going to talk about it.
And then moved over to Siemens almost 5 years ago. And you kind of did a great job of saying what I do there.
Oh, good. I'm glad. Covered it a little bit. And so I'm curious, I would love to ask what kind of software you were using when you first started in mechanical engineering, because we always talk about Gio's had to learn a million new, 3D modeling software. I feel like every year it's a new one he needs to get updated on. And so I'm curious kind of where you started.
So I started, believe it or not, in two products, AutoCAD. So I actually started using AutoCAD. And then the other product that we used was a product from a company called Applicon, which is where I ended up interning and eventually got hired full-time. They were a division of Slumberger, which is an oil company, had a CAD division.
I'm not familiar.
That's kind of where I started was there. So it was a 3D modeling package that eventually the modeling kernel of it became some of the parametric modeling technology that ended up being part of parametric technologies.
I was going to say, isn't Siemens also responsible for that kernel that's in a lot of 3D modeling software?
Yes, so Parasolid, which is the mathematics kernel, is pretty much the de facto standard in whether it's SolidWorks, some of the low-end products, Fusion or Inventor from Autodesk, or the high-end products across the industry.
Which is so interesting that it kind of all shares the same DNA.
All
way
have
deep
the
down.
same DNA in the kernel and math. Yeah. So one of the things that I always say is this concept that we had 3 or 4 years ago that we really put out in the market as kind of a unique differentiator for us is we believe we create the most comprehensive digital twin, which is a digital representation of whatever product you're making. COVID taught us that everyone needs one of those now. And every company, the faster they can digitalize their manufacturing process.
I was going to say,
and
the
work
manufacturing facilities need these.
Everybody needs this now. And so that's why I think us putting more digital tools into your facilities so that people understand, yes, we still got to produce the things and machine them, but what can we do to digitally enable things to do it even faster?
We got to see an amazing example of this at the Piacenza Deck Center. And that was
very
really
cool.
great. The full kind of factory digital twin setup was really mind-blowing. Yeah, it was very exciting.
It's cool.
And I would love to hear a little bit about the kind of tools that Siemens has to support that.
Yeah, so we built a little capability called Accelerator Share, which is a collaboration capability that we built into pretty much every single one of our software tools. So it allows, it's kind of like in Teams today, if you use Microsoft Teams or you use a lot of the online tools, but you can collaborate on the same model anywhere in the world. So engineers can actually both edit the model live.
So incredible.
They can actually, they can do what-if scenarios. They can, the teams can follow the sun. Back to what you said, we're a large global company. And so how is it that you work on something from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. in one time zone, but it's 8 a.m. in another time zone? You hand it over to them and they start working on it. So we built in a lot of these collaboration tools. They're ad hoc collaboration into all of our tools. The other thing we did is we took some of our life cycle management tools, which are trusted and tried in the industry for the top 5, the top 100 companies in the world have to manage the life cycle. You have to know when you step on an airplane, if something, God forbid, were to happen, you have to be able to trace every single component that's in that plane. And most products that we touch have to have that, every car we're in.
Now it has all that data built in.
It has all that data built in. And we enabled collaboration of that so that people could work on, because people were designing not in offices, but from homes. Yeah. So we built all that collaboration capability right into the tools. And we built a lot of capabilities for the cloud for things like storing models, sharing models, collaborating. So you don't have to shift heavy data around.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think a big part of that as well is kind of the simulation software.
Oh, super cool.
Right?
Yeah.
So like you were saying, if you're working from home, you don't have all the same kind of maybe even physical tools that you have access to. So being able to test things in a virtual space makes all the difference and makes the whole process more possible, more efficient.
And less costly and better for the planet. So it's a way for people to come in, and it's a way for you to kind of get collaboration and people understand how to manufacture within teams. And then from a company standpoint, at least where I've always seen it, and I'd be curious what you guys think, it really helps people understand the implications of what these companies are doing and giving them access to. So it's a brand building activity that really says, hey, I came to that supply frame place, built something really cool, met some cool people. Supply Frame's a pretty cool company. And so it creates an affinity for the brand and the ecosystem, the community. So that's what I love. That's what I love about it.
We're going to take that little bit and share it all over. Yeah, exactly. That's what we're all about. And I feel like something interesting that was kind of part of what you mentioned, is the kind of the curating the people that are going to be here at the same time, because there is, a level of that we have to take into account when we're reviewing residency applications, where we really want them to be complementary. Like, they're going to add something. Maybe it's something they're researching on the science side of what they're working on. And that's really going to work well with a totally different team. They don't necessarily end up being collaborators, but they're going to help inform and inspire and kind of support one another through their prototyping, through their research, etc. So I think that's something that a lot of these spaces really prioritize. I know it's something we think a lot about and makes a difference from the experience. And I think that's what is why even just as humans, everyone wants to be a part of something, part of a group, because they, are able to build off of each other and really grow from
coming
one another.
Out of this pandemic in the last couple of years, I think we've all have a little bit more empathy for, let's work together, even if we used to be rivals or competitors or, like countries, everybody has to come together. And these
really
spaces kind of shows that.
Yeah.
It's super cool to watch that happen.
And on that note, something I think that was really accelerated during that time was this, opportunity to really grow and optimize the systems and tools that support remote collaboration and collaboration across countries, across, through walls all around the world. And, all these teams had to go remote, obviously, during that time. But I think this was already in the works. Before that, of course, huge companies have to work across time zones and, be able to collaborate on something like a 3D model or on a system design from different computers from different locations. And so as you were starting to mention, you're really familiar and well-versed with these kind of spaces that can support engineers, designers, makers, hackers, everyone in between and above and beyond. And what do you find is like kind of the value of these spaces, both from the participant level and the company level, from the perspective of Siemens, Supplyframe, Autodesk, et cetera?
So from the user perspective, or from the target customer, whether it's a startup or a student, I don't think enough people really understand how to make things. And so I think when you really understand how to make things and people create more things and realize you can pretty much personalize now. I think everybody has a printer in their home where they print whatever documents they need. I think in the not too distant future, we're all going to have 3D printers in our homes and we're going to be printing whatever we need. And I have a really funny story. So literally, this is about 8 years ago when 3D printers were just coming out. My youngest son, who was in high school at the time, a little washer broke in our dishwasher Thanksgiving morning. And I was like, oh my God, I'm going to have all these people over and now my dishwasher's not going to work. And he's like, that can't be hard to make. I'm going to 3D print it. And so he was doing the project at school. Next day, 3D printed it on the day off. And we played around with the washer that he designed and it managed to go through 2 wash cycles before it broke.
Wow.
But and so I was like, imagine
That's
eventually you'll be able to make
that is the dream-like anecdote
in your home. So for the users, I think it's an incredible place to make things, but really personalize them for you too. Because I've been involved in maker spaces and Pier 9, which is an important thing that Autodesk did.
And so on that note also, I was curious to know more. I've throughout this week, gotten to meet more of your colleagues and learn a little bit more that there is a space. I think something, a lot of our audience members are curious about is a lot of these tools are enterprise level, are for huge companies. I think that's what most folks think of when they think of Siemens solutions, but there is a lot of work being done for kind of pathways into these tools at the university level, at the, just a more accessible kind of at-home use level. So I'd love to hear a little bit about some of the stuff that's in the works and anything that's already out there for folks to look into.
So, so we've always had a product that is actually positioned and priced for what I would consider the small to medium enterprise, which is a product called Solid Edge. So that's been a product. It competes with it competes with the products that I think are in this market. But what we've done in the last couple of years through the use of the cloud and kind of rethinking how everything is browser based, because you don't know where you're working, you don't know who's on your team, and you don't know if you're ever going to meet those people in your team because we were all working remotely. We built a product called Zelex. And what Zelex is we said, what are some of the most common workflows that a customer is trying to do? And let's take what we do, which is we have vertically in these domains the best technology in the world, but it is really, really robust. And a very small manufacturer or a startup, somebody that's coming in here, they don't need all that capability.
All those
and so we decided to then create, Zelex was actually for component suppliers.
Oh, okay.
So if you're a component supplier and you're trying to design something and manufacture it, we're going to give you a little bit of all these products packaged up on the cloud that you can download and use really quickly.
That's so interesting that's like the origin of it.
That's the origin of where it came from. And we're going to build many more of those through workflows. So we're looking at certain personas, like what's the next persona? Maybe it's the job shop engineer. And what are the capabilities they need and packaging it up for them.
Nice, and just have a little custom solution for them. That's everything that they need and not too much more.
Correct.
And then again, it's potentially a gateway to what they might, if they need to add on or, learn more or have new access, they can grow with that.
And if they want to grow into one of our other tools, great. Or if they want to just grow into a single tool, great. There's all different ways for expansion. And it gets people using our model kernel, which we talked about before, and using kind of the formats of which is, again, a standard in the industry for some of the things they're working on. So yeah, lots of goodness happening there. And many more products I think that'll be available that allow, again, the cloud and us kind of getting more adopting the cloud and building software as a service has really allowed us to go to a different level. And we actually have a startup program now. And I would say one of the markets, electronic vehicles, the EV startups, if you look at every OEM, they've got a bunch of little startup companies they're investing in. We're now, there's a plethora of those out there that are literally using all of our tools.
That is so exciting.
So it's
and
cool.
I'm really excited to get some access for some of our community members
to
for
give access.
Zelex and some of these other solutions, to
That's a
see
great
how
idea.
they work and how they complement one another and the different stages. We work with, team members at all kinds of stages, whether it's like first early prototype, sketch, model stage, all the way up to design for manufacture and trying to scale.
Love to figure out a way to anybody that's part of the residence program to get access to the portfolio.
That would be great.
That would be cool.
So we want to be respectful of your time here. Last but not least, the question we ask all of our guests: what is on your personal bill of materials?
What's on your personal bill of materials?
You got it.
So my personal bill of materials, everything has to be threes for me. So I've got to figure out what are the top three. So one is, I think the thing I bring to teams, the thing I bring to kind of the groups I do a lot of mentoring is energy, right? So I'm very much about positive energy and what can we do to really look at the, what is the best thing I can take out of this situation.
I have felt that since the moment we've met.
Yes, so I am a little energy bunny. So that's definitely number one. Number two is, I think something that is in my bill of materials, something that I bring is I am pretty, I focus very heavily on clarity of position, clarity of customer, who's this for, why should they care, and clarity of the market position you're going after. And so every time I can't tell you the number of times somebody's showing me, I'm getting ready to show these slides at the XYZ staff meeting, and I'm like, why do they care? Well, so there's just really simple questions I ask to get clarity of message and clarity of position. And I think if people were clearer about that to their audience, not just what they want to say, but what the audience cares about, we would go a lot, things would go faster. We would go faster. Yeah. And then the last one I think is I am very curious. So I'm a very curious person. So I think that helps me ask the right questions and get the most out of my team. And I value the diversity of my team because they really bring a lot of good energy back to me.
Those
are my three.
That is an awesome answer and very unique to any of the other answers we've heard.
Oh, interesting.
So I love that. Yeah, I love that you added in kind of what you bring to teams and to spaces and to your work. I think that's something that it's a little bit of a twist that we haven't really heard yet. So thank you so much for your expertise, for your time today, and for sharing a little bit more about your role and what you're up to, and excited for future conversations.
I am too, and love the space. Thank you.
Thanks, Brenda. That was my discussion with Brenda Discher of Siemens. We're looking forward to how Siemens continues to be a leader in digital transformation across industries. You can find out more about Siemens and its new tools in the show notes. Thanks for listening, and until next time. If you like The Bomb, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and share the show wherever you get your podcasts. You can follow Supplyframe and Hackaday on Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Design Lab at Supplyframe Design Lab on Instagram and Twitter. The Bomb is a Supplyframe podcast produced by me, Magenta Strongheart, and Ryan Tillotson. Written by Maggie Bowles and edited by Daniel Ferreira. Theme music is by Anna Hogbin, show art by Thomas Schneider, special thanks to Giovanni Salinas, Bruce Dominguez, Thomas Woodward, Jin Kumar, Jordan Clark, the entire Supplyframe team, and you, our wonderful listeners. I'm your host, Magenta Strongheart. See you next week.